Greetings, fellow sim racers. Let's not talk so much about Project Motor Racing, but a problem with the games industry in itself. So, Project Motor Racing, terrible release, terrible reviews, but the issue I'm going to talk about is not actually Project Motor Racing, it's the cause that allows things like Project Motor Racing to happen time and time again. Yet again, an Ian Bell project is absolutely flawed. The criticisms of the game are endless. People talking about it looking like a PS2 game and all this sort of stuff. So I don't need to go into a massive amount of detail about the problems of Project Motor Racing. It's all well documented and you've all got your own opinions. What we need to go into is the actual root cause of why this stuff happens all the time. But it's not just that, it's the way the game was hyped and released. So we saw footage of the game, which looked amazing. It turns out that from all the different versions I've seen, none of the graphics that you see in the game look anything like these pre-release footages. They look fake to me. They look like they've been faked. They might have been on a high-end system, but to me they look fake. And it looks like a lie. The LMDH cars, the GT3 cars, we know they're a mess. They clearly weren't tested before release. They're completely unplayable, unusable, completely broken. The AI, that wasn't tested clearly. That's just not really AI. It's like a train's running on a train track. It's ridiculous. But we're told that these things are it's really advanced and fantastic and game changing and genre changing, and it's not. They're just simple lies. It's overhyped. It's not even close to being mistaken. They're simple lies. And herein comes my fundamental problem with the games industry. There's a very important reason why my purchase of Project Motor Racing is currently set to download, and it's because of consumer contracts regulations. Now, I'm going to try and make this not as boring as it probably will look and sound, but it is really important, and it explains exactly why releases like Project Motor Racing continually happen again and again and again. And we all have problems with these games, and it's because of these regulations and a special exemption that digital goods get. So this blurb here is a roundabout way of basically saying you can buy digital download stuff, like is on PlayStation Store for instance, and get a refund in 14 days. But if you download it, you're actually acknowledging and giving consent that your right to cancel under the regulation 29 section 1 will be lost. So if you buy something online, technically the, say, PlayStation Network for instance, shouldn't be supplying you the goods until after the 14-day cancellation period is over, but they always allow you to download it straight away, which means you then exempt yourself from the protection and your right to cancel under 14 days as soon as you click download. So that's why my Project Motor Racing purchase was set, is still set to download, because I'm simply waiting to see the inevitable fallout that I knew was coming, that this would be a disaster of a release. And I'm just constantly watching influencers streams and people's personal experiences and reports of what's going on in the game before I make my decision to cancel. So obviously the games industry and developers and publishers are aware of these consumer contracts regulations and the exemption they got. The nutshell of the exemption is in days gone by, decades gone by, people used to pirate software and it was easy to copy. So if you're given a copy, then they can assume you're going to copy it, send it to your mates, and then you're going to ask for your money back, and then you've all got free copies. But with digital signage and subscription services and all this stuff, you can't pirate software anymore. But this kind of legacy feature in the consumer contracts regulations is still there and still protecting software. So the tables have been flipped. Whereas people used to be able to pirate software very easily and get free stuff. Now developers can release any old crap and you can't get your money back. It's completely flipped. And this is a severe problem. It's only going to get worse and only more extreme, and is never going to go away unless these consumer contracts regulations are updated, probably for the third time, again, to match what is really happening and available and how the real world works. So that's the problem we face. And me being me, I recognised this back in 2017 with another Ian Bell project called Project Cars 2, which was another total disaster of a release. So there's got overviews here. We have big discussions or stroke arguments. I tried to launch a petition to get the CCR regulations changed to stop stuff like Project Cars 2 happening again, or happening again. Ian Bell, of course, in his narcissistic way, he piped up and got involved, and all sorts of stuff went happening. You can Google this conversation, and it's still there on GT Planet. It didn't go very far at the end of the day because, unfortunately, as is always the way, too many people with goodwill in their hearts leapt to his defence, and they really shouldn't have done. They didn't deserve it. So I tried to launch this petition. 50% of people basically were in favour of it all the way back in 2017, because I saw this as a problem with the consumer contracts regulations. I could see the exploitation that was happening in the games industry, and I could see it was only going to get worse. And we were all staggered and pretty dismayed at how terrible the Project Cars 2 release was. And it's not the only game. I've heard of the Cyberpunk thing, which is a problem. No Man's Sky, which has actually recovered itself to be a really, really good game now. But there's so many disaster releases because publishers know they can get away with it. So yeah, this petition I put on, it wasn't directed at Ian Bell, but of course he, being the narcissist that he is, took personal offence to it. Yeah, whatever, mate. We all know what kind of problem you are. You're an enigma in the games industry. You're like a spectre that goes around wrecking the industry, wrecking its reputation single-handedly. The sooner you're gone from it, the better. But update the consumer contracts regulations so that consumers are actually protected, which is what they're supposed to be for, not protecting publishers. This thing and people like him, they disappear overnight. And I predicted all the way back in 2017 that this kind of thing will happen again, and it has happened again. It'll only get worse, and it has got worse, almost unmeasurably worse, and it's gonna stay. Unless you do something about it, unless people try and get these regulations updated. It needs Elon Musk to be involved. He's a gamer, he's a billionaire, he's the kind of guy who needs to take on these systems and get these things updated. Where's this guy when we need him? But ultimately, what can you do? Unfortunately, pretty much nothing. All you can do is have your purchase set to download, and don't download, and do what I do. I got burned at Project Cars 2. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to get burned again. So I'm going to get my pre-order bonuses, but I'm going to sit there not downloading it, and I'm just going to see what all the influencers and reviewers are saying, and then make my decision based on that whilst still getting my pre-order bonuses. And there's not much else you can do at the moment, because of the way the regulations are, and the way the games industry is so obviously exploiting them, and so obviously doesn't have to care about the quality of their releases, that this is always going to be here. And at some point it's going to get so bad that it's almost as if people are just going to produce a CGI movie of a game and make it out to be game footage, which may have just happened, we're not too sure, and they're going to say this game's fantastic, you're going to buy it, and it turns out to be Pac-Man, and you can't get your money back, because that's probably, that kind of exploitation is just waiting to happen. At the minute, you're having to rely on good faith that these people are going to make this game, or these games, playable and workable as they originally advertised or hyped, out of good faith, because they've already got your money. They can stop at any time. So like Ian Bell on Project Cars 2, he abandoned it. He fixed a lot of the bugs, or they fixed a lot of the bugs. They did the DLCs, they tinkered and kept at it for a while, but at the end of the day, after I think 15 months it was, he just abandoned it. Because he just didn't have to do any more, he got your money, he felt like he'd done enough, so you were left with a game which still had loads and loads of bugs and problems with it, really dodgy physics and loads of things not to be happy about, but it kind of worked. And I've heard the argument that, you know, if people fix the game, it will create a better reputation for the developer. But that doesn't work, because as we've seen with originally Project Cars 2, it was abandoned, it wasn't properly fixed. Project Motor Racing comes along, people still see the same hype, they still see the same footage, they're still sold. The reputation of anything Ian Bell touches is absolutely through the floor, and people still buy it. So the concept that if developers work to fix these things, they'll maintain or get a good reputation is an absolute non-argument as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't wash, and I'm pretty certain all the publishers know this as well. People just want games, and they will support whatever they have to do to get those games, and will think what they're going to get is good, and it doesn't have to be. That's the problem. So what's the point of this? I don't know. Awareness. Just be aware. Be savvy with how you buy things. Try and follow my example. You don't have to, but you know, try and follow what I've done and doing. And maybe if people don't buy until they've seen decent reviews and they start cancelling their orders, like I will be, because I can't see Project Motor Racing being fixed at all in the however many few days I've got left before I can cancel it, then maybe that will force publishers and developers to up their game and start making games which are more serviceable and usable on release. And that's pretty much all you can hope to do. But you need to remember, of course, that the consumer influences the market. If you're quite happy to just do what is essentially take a gamble on an industry which is probably approaching corruption, but certainly doesn't value customers, it would seem, and is quite ready to exploit you, why would you gamble your money on something or someone you can't trust? So this kind of goes out to those gamblers. They're relying on you, and they expect you to exist. But if you stop gambling, maybe things will change. Who knows?